Hey guys, Newman here today on the Priority Phase YouTube channel, and I'm bringing you a special deck profile made by ours truly, Paul Johnson, and is being operated by Tim Dahl, currently ranked 5 on the DB ladder. Let's get right into it, guys.
Yeah, so we were playing the Ryzeal Fiendsmith Bestial deck. It's like similar to Triff's list. Notably, we were playing it before he released the list, so we were ahead of our time by like 12 hours. And yeah, I guess we can just like start off with the cards in it. Uh, for the Ryzeal cards, it's like a pretty small package compared to like what you would think. We played three of the white one, three of the green, two red, and then three bonfire. We didn't play the field spell, plugin, anything like that, or like the third sword or node. So the reason being is because those cards like really don't matter all that much when you think about it. Because
Yeah.
when you're going into duo drive, that's when you're actually like getting those cards to your hand. And most of the time, if you think about it, duo drive isn't really resolving anyways. So we're taking out like weaker draws in our deck and just keeping our deck more consistent.
Yeah, I honestly think that those cards are the worst of the Ryzeal cards, actually. Seeing them in your
Yeah, for
opening
sure.
hand,
They're not one card starters. Like
yeah,
it's
they're
just
rhetorical.
not that great.
It's rhetorical to what your game plan is going forward, especially since now you can facilitate all these other plays using these Fiendsmith cards and Bestials.
Hmm. The only awkward part about it is like with no cross, like you can run out of resources,
Yeah.
but I don't think it really matters all that much because
Yep.
most of the time your deck is just like pretty good in grind game, anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Then for the fiends,
yeah,
go
the
ahead.
Fiendsmith cards have to be the you know what I mean. They make up for
Yeah, it's like
cut across.
mainly a fiendsmith Bestial deck,
Yeah.
The end of the
and
day, you're cutting down on a lot of monsters because you almost always want to do Fiendsmith combo. If you're starting
mm,
with an X or a sword, like that's just going to be a weekend board 9 times out of 10.
exactly. And then for the fiendsmith stuff, it's like kind of heavy. Three engraver, the lacrima, Larry, double track, and paradise. These cards are phenomenal. There honestly could be argument for a third track, but it might not. It's probably not like too necessary. You want to keep the deck lower, but like these cards are unbelievable, and like anytime I draw these cards, I feel like I'm gonna win. Like I feel really good with these cards. There's not really much to say about them.
Yeah, they've been around a long
For
enough time.
Yeah, for the Bestials, we play one Mag, three Druis, Baldrake, three Lobelion, and Regained. Magnum and Druis forms are self-explanatory. Baldrake, it just gives you like an extra disruption. I mean, basically, it just gives you a free disruption. Not really much to say about them. The card can like be pretty cool when you pair it with Desiree too and stuff like that. It doesn't really come up that
Yeah.
much, but at the end of the day, they're all just like giant DD crows. And like anytime you're actually playing against a Fiendsmith deck, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna win, especially if you draw these, because like your deck is like just so like heavily like built to beat them. It
Hmm.
just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I think this deck was mostly made as a way to be like Ryzeal, because like obviously these cards are terrible into Malice. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
Druis
Yeah.
one being good against the Fiendsmith stuff and Ryzeal. Watch the Fiendsmith stuff, and then it's a out Detonator against Ryzeal
Yeah.
is why they were so worth maxing out on.
Yeah. And
And
we'll
now that
get.
like Malice is like playing Fiendsmith stuff too, it gives them a little bit more value. Obviously, it's not that great, but
Yeah.
it gives them some value.
And plus, later in the profile, I'm sure when we get to the side deck, we'll talk more about like the Malice matchup and why the Bestials were put in the main instead of Malice hate or vice versa.
Yeah. Then the like non-engine cards. It's double Nibiru, three Ash, three Imperm, three Valor, and three Talents. The idea behind like these first nine right here, they stop duo drive from resolving, so they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Only two Nib. It's just like one of the weaker hand traps, especially when everybody's like jamming Fiendsmith stuff in, because like
Yeah.
they're always baiting it out when they put two level sixes on the field, and it just doesn't seem that ideal because like you would need to pair it with another hand trap.
Yeah.
So that's like the only reason like Nib isn't a 3-0, but it's still in the side deck for like the
Yeah.
heavier combo matchups.
Rogue.
Yeah. And then talents, I think it's probably just the best non-engine in the game right now. There's not really much to say about it. The card's just pretty obnoxious.
Yeah. Being able to take a Chaos Angel is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, like all that, like it just like the ripping hand is broken. Taking control absolutely violates Ryzeal. So there's just literally nothing wrong with this card right now.
Yeah.
We can do the extra deck next.
Yeah, let's get into this extra deck.
SP Little Knight mandatory. It's like actually summonable in this deck, unlike the regular Ryzeal deck, which is nice. The Fiendsmith package. The only one that's like some people might not play is this Agnum Day, but I think you need it. Because we heard about people talking about this card summoning Lacrima.
Yeah.
It plays around Nibiru, and it lets you get into your Ryzeal stuff with like duo drive and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's also nice to have
deck.
Desiree with it.
Some of these Malice decks too are pretty heavily board breakers as well. So ending on that instead is pretty nice.
Yeah, like Desiree is just like a much better disruption sometimes too, especially like you said against the board breakers. Typhon. Not really much to say about it. It's like mandatory. Same with like these Rising monsters. We've considered cutting duo drive.
Yeah.
But you probably need it just in case for the Lacrima, but
I was gonna say just because of that card alone.
like I think this card gets summoned like maybe once every like 2 or 3 matches. To be honest, it's not that good.
Yeah.
Or it's not that it's not good. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
Detonator's insane.
I was gonna say, do you want to explain the choice of duo drive over the Dweller and why Dweller was kind of cut completely?
The problem with Dweller is that like we were siding it and it just didn't seem like it made that much sense because like it didn't really seem obvious what we wanted to take out aside from like the DDD. But I feel like at that point the card just isn't really worth it that much because like you're putting it in against the Fiendsmith decks and your deck is already so good in the Fiendsmith. I feel like it's just overkill almost.
Yeah.
And we were trying Baguska too, but Baguska just doesn't seem necessary either because like you're only putting it in against Ryzeal, and I feel like
they could just
Ryzeal is like, yeah, exactly, and it's like you're not setting up the broken end board either with this deck like with Cross Baguska and like Detonator, so it just doesn't really seem that necessary because there's also not a lot of shifter decks either.
Yeah.
Aside from Malice, and I don't even know if Malice is maining shifter right now.
Also, for the record, there should never be a cowboy anywhere in your deck as well.
Yeah, that's criminal behavior.
Very often.
Shout out Triff. Yeah. Shout out Triff.
Shout out to him. Aggregator, mandatory. Exciton Knight, mandatory. I've never done the pop effect, so I don't actually know how good it is, but it's there.
Yeah, never
Caesar, probably mandatory. It's pretty
Something
good.
About Exciton too, though. In this build specifically, you can do some cool stuff since you're running 6 discard cards for cost, like the Lebellion and Engraver. You can do the classic activate Engraver, and then if you and your opponent are tied in cards, you can then activate Exciton then, and blow up the field. So that's always a good thing to remember.
Ooh, that is actually pretty sick. I actually didn't think about that. Yeah, that's actually nasty. DDD guy, mandatory. Chaos Angel. This card is actually insane.
Ban that guy.
It's so easy to summon in this deck because there are so many lights and darks. Like it's actually just free. The card's so broken.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Lacrima, like going second, like bad hands can just equate to like a plus off of just making this alone. Like with like a Lacrima and a Druid Swarm, instantly it's like everything. Beats any board that anyone's ending on. So it's just crazy. Like if you can stop the the Detonator, and then you can like normal Lacrima, put out a Druid Swarm, then you're sending one on top of it all. It's just it's just busted.
There was a game where I had Druid Swarm my opponent. I hard drew the Lacrima. I normal summoned it, didn't do the effect. I made Chaos Angel and I banished his field spell and I sent his Detonator, and then I proceeded to activate Engraver and just absolutely blow him out of the water that game. Because like when you draw like this with any level 4 and then you have another way to keep extending, it just makes it so much better. Like the card is just actually unbelievable. Necroquip, this card's also really insane in this deck because you actually have like almost 8 ways to activate its effect to draw. Because like
Yeah.
with track, you can also add engraver sometimes too. And then Lubellion plus engraver also trigger it. So there's a lot of ways to actually activate this card to draw one, and it's just free pluses.
Yeah. I was gonna
And
say
you're
like
always gonna have. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like the Necro Equip in Lebellion and Regained being in this deck, it kind of reminds you of like the draw power that the deck was missing without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this.
Because cutting cross, like you don't get that ability to like put more cards back into your hand so you have follow up, but this alone lets you play through stuff, gives you more interruption added to your hand. You could add, might draw talents, you might draw into a hand trap. It's pretty broken.
There were a few times like I would end on like almost an unoutable board with like 6 cards in my hand because like all the Ryzeals replaced themselves too. So at the end of the day, like I'm never really running out of card advantage. And then Desiree, it's also mandatory. I don't know much to say. Side deck, Nibiru. Like I said, we just wanted the third one for the combo decks.
Yep.
Ogres. They're iffy, but like they're pretty decent into the pure Ryzeal deck, and I think they're worth playing because like you can also put them into Malice too if you really want to.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want to take out.
Yeah, I think Ghost Ogre is a great card. It's just not worth playing at 3. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
it's honest. We were in between this and the Drolls we played. Like 3 of this or 2. Like 3 Droll or 2 Droll and 3 Ogre 2 Droll. And we went with 3 Droll. I think Droll might just be better because it like has a higher chance of them ending their turn, which is what I like about it.
Yeah.
Droll, it's like really good into like the Fiendsmith Ryzeal decks.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nice. Yeah, there's not really much to say. Fuwalos, broken card. You probably have to play it right now.
Yeah, real quick before we get into these last 6 cards. With this Fuwalos, did you honestly think like these last 9 cards that we haven't mentioned yet, they're more of like sided for Malice more than other matchups because I'd imagine Parolia would be much better if you were more worried about like Ryzeal or a Bestial deck, Fiendsmith cards. I feel like like Fuwalos definitely checks them as well, but the Parolia card I feel like against Ryzeal specifically is super good and also hits those other decks too.
It's mainly like pure Ryzeal that makes like Parolia better, but since everybody's on Fiendsmith stuff, it makes it so like Fuwalos is like infinitely better. And then against Malice, Parolia is like you might get a draw.
Yeah, you might. Yeah,
but it's,
maybe.
Like, just not worth it.
Yeah, maybe if they open the Chessy Cat and just normal it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
about it.
Or like any of the names they could, but at the end of the day, you're only getting 1 draw.
Yeah.
Unless they draw a Bestial, which sure.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that info out there for people in case they were wondering if like they were gonna put too much money into a Fuwalos or a Parolia.
Yeah. There has been times where I wanted Parolia, but most of the time Fuwalos is just better, and we just wanted these cards more.
Yeah.
For like the
because of everyone running Fiendsmith cards.
Yeah, Fuwalos is definitely mandatory right now for sure.
Yeah.
Lancia, this is literally the FTK against Malice.
Yeah.
If you draw this card, you're probably gonna win.
Yep. Flutek.
And then the last card was Strike. So me and Paul were like kind of back and forth on this. Like I thought D-Barrier was still pretty good, but he brought up a good point that like D-Barrier isn't like ending turns anymore because if every Ryzeal deck is playing Fiendsmith stuff and they start with Ice,
yeah,
you like flip up D-Barrier. You're not only shutting off your own XYZs, you're now just allowing them to freely go into their Fiendsmith stuff for no reason.
Yeah, and
when it could just be something that's and when it could just be something that's like stopping them from playing the game in general. And like Strike does that pretty well because like they also can't like chain Detonator to like pop something either, so it's just really strong. Like this could be Judgment too, but I think I personally like Strike more. I think it's really just preference.
Yeah. I think the strike card's good, and if you see it in multiples, it doesn't feel as bad either. When you see Solemn Judgment in multiples, sometimes it just feels so risky, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk about like the siding patterns too, because like some people might be questioning like
Yeah.
what do you side out? Like let's say Malice, for example. You want to be putting in 3 Lancias, 3 Fawalos, and then it depends because like if they're on the Allure build, I think Drill's like pretty good.
Yeah.
But if they're not, it's like probably you probably put in Ogre, but it's not great.
Yeah. Inside the mind of
Let-
you for a second, what do you think facilitates when you're going into that game 2 and 3 versus Malice? If you didn't see a lore, what makes you, more suspicious of that they are playing the Allure build? Is there anything that gives that off?
I'm just gonna assume they're on it because most of the time people should be on it. I
Yeah.
think.
Same with Gold Sark.
Yeah.
It's like a mandatory card almost.
Yeah, it's like cards like that, and there's like a high chance they're probably playing striker cards too, which also play into Droll. So it's there's just like a higher chance of Droll being like actually like playable, and you want your hand traps to do as much as they can. Like you probably also put in this nib too, and what we would do is we would just side out of like all the Bestial cards
Okay.
when we would go second into the deck.
hmm
It's like kind of similar for pure Ryzeal too, like where we would be taking out a lot of Bestial cards.
hmm
But I just want to show like, because here you would probably take out like, it's either between the green guy or Tract, because the Paradise card, a lot of people would assume you take that out,
Yeah.
but it just makes you like infinitely better going second too,
Mhm.
because like the Fiendsmith stuff is actually like a threat on the follow up
Mhm.
turn. Because most of the time you're not gonna be able to kill your
Yeah,
opponent.
you're not OTKing them going second with this. You're more likely just trying to rebalance the game state and make it so that way you
Yeah,
can
exactly.
trade card resources really.
Because this deck is like very good at grinding. Is
Mhm.
the thing that there can be like many turns of play, and then stuff like this is just like what makes it like easier for you to keep grinding.
Yeah.
But personally, I've been siding out of like the second or the third green, but it really depends on like sometimes I've done the tract. It really just depends like what I'm feeling at the time. To be honest, like I'm back and forth. And this is what I would side against Malice most of the time, and then against like the pure Ryzeal deck. You probably do keep in like at least like Magnum Jerusalem or something of that variety.
Yeah. Take out like 2
Uh,
Druids.
yeah, you definitely want to put in Fuwalis's. I don't. What do you think, Paul, about Droll against like the pure Ryzeal deck? Would you put it in? What'd you say?
I wouldn't put in Droll.
So it'd be like these 6.
Yeah. I was gonna say Ogre is definitely
And
for sure.
you're almost always taking out these Lebellions too, and they're
Yeah.
regained. And then this can come out and like a Jerusalem, and your deck is like pretty good in the Ryzeal.
Yeah.
There's also argument to put in strikes too. I haven't really tried it, so I'm not 100% sure if it's right or not.
Mhm.
But I think it is worth thinking about. But yeah, that's like basically it for the deck.
All right. Awesome. Let's get into some replays now.
All right, so now we're gonna show some replays. The first replay was against pure Ryzeal, I'm pretty sure. We won dice roll this game, and our his hand's like pretty good. Our hand is 3 hand traps, tracked, X'd. And the reason we can start with tracked here instead of just normal summoning X'd is because Lacrima is level 4, so it's just doesn't really matter, and tracked baits out more hand traps than X'd ever would. And we don't have to waste our normal summon on this. He chains Ogre. I don't really think that's that good of a play, and I'm just able to play through it pretty easy. And then I just normal summon X'd. That way I don't lock myself into rank 4s.
Mhm.
And then able to do Fiendsmith plays from here. We end up going for sequence here. Normally it would be a little bit better if we had another Light Fiend engraved, but since we don't, it's not as good, but it's still pretty good because we get the setup for Desiree. Since we didn't have set up for the DDD guy. And this also just baits out another hand trap anyways. If he has like Valor Imperm, he has to do it on
Sequence,
Desiree
yeah.
or Sequence, yeah. So it just baits out another hand trap. And if he doesn't, we would have had Lacrima in graveyard still with the trap card set up. So we were fine no matter what there. Then we summon our sword, which locks us into rank 4s. And here we go for Detonator instead of the Duo Drive. The reason is because we don't have as many extenders as a regular Ryzeal deck would. Because normally you would see them add like Cross plus like Node or something like that.
Yeah.
But since those cards aren't in our deck, there's literally no reason to go Duo Drive here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this end board's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 disruptions.
Yeah,
so
total.
There's like basically no way we lose this game.
Plus Desiree sending, like getting sent to graveyard alone.
Yeah, like that too. Like it's just so hard to out. We Ash Prosperity. I think you probably just have to, just to be safe, just in case. This is like 10 pi or something like that. Then he goes normal ice. We chain Detonator, and then we chain Imperm just to clear the body, and then get it negated as well. That way there's no setup for a rank 4 or a Fiendsmith play. More than likely, though, not on Fiendsmith cards when there's Prosperity. Specials ice. We do the same thing, just chain and pop. And then we still have Desiree and another pop. And we beat everything in his hand.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, don't you think if he went Talents before the other Ryzeal monster, his second summon, he would have been better off, but I think the
I don't think it really matters. Yeah, Desiree is just there to, like, stop, like, the stupid board breakers like Talents Thrust.
Yep.
Here, our hand is Fualos, Nib, Imperm, Ash, Paradise, so we brick. And his hand is Ice, Sword, Double Hand Trap, D-Barrier. So normally you would think automatically this is a loss for us. Draw phase, we do Fualos. Me and Paul argue about this all the time. I think there's no reason to play in the Talents right now. He says, I don't even know what he says, but he's wrong, I think, in my humble opinion.
Like right now, we bricked. So I think you have to take the risk of playing the Talents to draw cards to be able to play the game.
But we're just going to ignore him because, you know, his opinion irrelevant right now.
Yep.
And then he does Sword Effect. Grab this. Here we're probably only going to get 2 draws, but it's fine. Yeah, it's Node. And he just makes a giant Detonator.
Yeah. Format Detonator.
So yeah, so setup you would think we'd probably lose, but we're actually like fine here because X just always trades with the aggregator. We are gonna have to lock ourselves into rank 4s, but it should be fine because the Ryzeal part of our deck is still like really broken.
The aggregator just checks Detonator instantly.
Yeah, like we can like just slam it. Like if we're able to actually make a rank 4, like our own Detonator, we just always beat his because it's negated, so he can't like protect it. So we're always fine there. We grab sword, or not sword, ice. And here he debarriers us because I mean we're already locked into rank 4, so it doesn't actually matter. And then I just set 2 and pass. I guess special sword. You have to just let this go since I already know he has Node in hand.
Node, yeah.
There's not really a reason to negate because even if he summons this and I like try to negate it again, he still just has access to rank 4, so it's just a waste of hand traps. Then normal's ice. At this point, basically, we're just hoping that he plays into Nibiru because if he does that, there's like a high chance we're actually able to win the game because of access to Fiendsmith stuff with the other hand traps in hand. He clears the board. I guess it's like a fine play. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. He then does Duo Drive and to the effect to attach. I chain Imperm. The reason is because like if I chain it to the effect to search, he chains Detonator to pop, and then he can just detach from Detonator, and I just wasted a hand trap for no reason. And here, I also want him to pop my other backer since it's Paradise. And this gets him to do that. And then I'm hoping that he'll just keep extending into my Nibiru, but he just ends up passing. And then I draw Tract, which is really good here. Because I now have the setup for Paradise in the graveyard with all this other stuff too. And I also don't have to fear Nib because his board is like way more valuable than my board will ever be with just Fiendsmith cards. So,
Yeah.
And he does the right play here by like, he doesn't pop this. Okay. I guess it doesn't really matter when he pops, but yeah, I mean, he does the right play by popping these things because you just have to.
Mhm.
But now I
Yeah.
have like the full setup in my graveyard, so I actually have follow-up play plus the disruption plus all of the other hand traps in my hand. So I'm in a really good spot if he ends up playing into this nib or any more of my other hand traps. And summon sword, grabs probably ice, yeah. And then he specials node, which I don't think this is correct by him, to be honest. I don't really like this play. He summons detonator, I then chain paradise engrave. And I just clear the detonator because I have the hand trap to stop duo drive.
Mhm.
And then I chain Ash Blossom to duo drive to play around crossout because it's definitely pure. And that deck is more likely to play,
Yeah, cross out.
yeah.
Yeah, they
And
list
then
those
he
multi harder.
And then he now proceeds to play into Nibiru, which now he auto loses the game
Mhm.
because of it. Because now I have like, well, I guess he could have kept playing, but he has like no follow up play in his hand, and I
Yeah.
have infinite Fiendsmith cards to keep going.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think overall I would probably end up winning the game.
It's kind of funny to see that Perolia in his hand. It like reiterates what I was talking about earlier. This is a great live example of exactly why that card is a cross out target right now, and that's about the best it's gonna be for a while.
On to the next one. I think this is Fiendsmith Ryzeal, I'm pretty sure. Uh, this might just be pure. I'm not sure. It looks like pure though with plugin. So the opening hand is just 3 Bystials, Ash, Imperm. So not very good, but it's like good enough. We do Magnamut, summon Lubellion. Then we do Jerusalem on Magnamut. He ashes this, which this might have been a misplay by us to banish the Magnamut, but since I ended up baiting the Ash anyways, it definitely worked out for us. That's for sure. Then we get Fiendsmith combo. We just go for the DDD here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We just end on the DDD, and then if it's Ryzeal, it's not like the greatest end board ever, but it's like still decent because we have Imperm Ash, and then we have Baldrake with Regain coming back, so we get a free draw and we get a free disruption with Baldrake and Jerusalem. And sometimes against Ryzeal, like see like with his hand here, the ice actually does play into Caesar. So
Yeah. He has a
and
special summon. Yep.
and that's like the best value you're gonna get out of it. So I Caesar negate this because it's like the only target. He summons sword. I chain regain, then chain imperm, and he just scoops it up from there because there's no way he was gonna be able to win.
He had like double sword, double ice. He drew ice for his 6 cards, so
Yeah. There's just no way he was gonna win that game.
yeah.
So his next hand. So it turns out he is on the Fiendsmith stuff. His hand is Valor, Ash, Nib, Lurie, Talon. So his hand's not that good. And our hand is Fuwalis, Track, Nib, Ogre, Valor. Pretty good going second. And then draw phase, I do the Fuwalis again, and he ashes. Notably, plays around talents there, so
Yeah.
Just saying. And then he goes normal Lurie. Does like Fiendsmith plays. There's not really much to say about this. So here, we let him get to Caesar, and then end of main we Nibiru him. I still don't like this play very much at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't
'Cause
think
he
this play
sets
was
up talents. Yeah.
I mean, it just felt kind of bad. I mean, it's fine for sure. It just did not feel very good.
Yeah.
So he then goes Talent Draw 2. He said he didn't shuffle back the Larry. Okay. So he puts that back, and he draws Ogre. So his hand is 3 hand traps plus follow-up play. And draw the green one. It's just dead, but it's probably fine. He chains the Lacrima to summon. I don't think that's a very good play by him, to be honest, but
Yeah, Requiem, summon Lacrima, Lacrima send Paradise.
Yeah, like he didn't need to do it now because he just played into talents for no reason.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the 2 other cards in hand
Like,
at all.
because like this Paradise doesn't really disrupt me yet. Yeah, like he could just be more
Yeah.
patient with it.
Yeah.
And now I have my Fiendsmith set up. Valor in this doesn't really threaten all that much, or like hurt me all that much. I mean, because I still
Yeah.
have the trap card in my deck, which makes it just pretty free, to be honest. Then we make Necroquip because the idea is that we're gonna try to go for Chaos Angel.
This forces out Paradise.
Yeah. I think he gets rid of Necroquip. He probably should. Yeah. And then we go for we clear the Lacrima because it outs the Light Fiend.
Oh yeah, Typhon
We
bounces
Typhon clear
token.
the token. I don't know if that was the right play because of possible X.
Yeah.
I think it was fine. It wasn't like that big of a deal. And then so we have Typhon set up. Plus, he only has he literally only has Fiendsmith plays, so I think this is fine for us because the trap card actually does a lot into the Fiendsmith stuff in general. So, it makes Requiem.
Equip, yeah, bouncing Typhon back.
Yeah.
Yeah, tracked into a Larry.
And then at this point, this is where you activate Lacrima because he threatens summoning sequence, and you don't want him to do that. So we then just go for the trap card, and we like our setup's like fine.
Yeah.
Because like if he outs the Lacrima, we still have X, so it's still fine.
It's fortunate that he doesn't draw into, or he didn't have any Ryzeal plays at the same time.
Yeah. I definitely would have made things a lot more awkward. But he goes normal Ogre because he's going to make Chaos Angel, which is not very good here because it's an all light Chaos Angel.
I was going to say, it's just 3 light monsters that equal 10, right? 3, 1, 4, or 3, 1, 6. Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah, it's wild. And then I chain Paradise here, but instead of sending Desiree, I send Engraver instead. So this is the follow-up play that I have. Like, I now actually have follow-up play.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to normal summon this X and then do Fiendsmith plays. So I'm in a really good spot here.
Yeah. Oh, drawing
Druris Worm
nice.
outs
That's
Lacrima too.
That's
Just
so
target
nice,
yeah. So now we have like our Ryzeal stuff online, and now we can do Fiendsmith plays. This nib is gonna hurt a little bit, but it's not like the end of the world.
Yeah, you definitely have play after.
You make sequence.
Seems like you're playing mindful enough of it too, though.
Yeah, like
because you could
no matter
tried
what,
to get
we're like
Druris for
fine.
value or something. Yeah.
And then do Desiree at clear the back row, so now there's nothing to fear. We special sword and get X'd. Notably, it only locks you out of the extra deck, so you still have your Agnum Day online. So we're still fine. Then we special X'd, and I think here he nibs. No, he doesn't. Alright, he nibs now. We chain Agnum Day just to make the token bigger. So now, like, the token's, like, actually huge. And the Druris Worm is going to trade with Requiem, so that's no longer even in his deck. And for some reason, he doesn't Lacrima. I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
I wonder if there's any chance, if there's any other card that he draws that he can play still, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Bonfire's not bad.
Yeah, Bonfire's like probably the best draw in his deck.
It's probably
Bonfire
the best one
Rise.
at this point.
So it's like kind of scary, but it ends up being okay. Because now he just goes Moon. That's fine. We still don't really have anything to fear.
He's probably gonna bounce this token.
For sure. Like the token's too big. Like you can't risk not outing it.
Yep.
Nice Suns aggregator. This might have also been a misplay. I'm not sure because
Yeah.
like now that he's locked in rank 4s, the engraver is like whatever. I mean, it's good for clearing the token, so you probably have to do it. But this ogre just ends up winning me the game.
Yeah, do it. It's just, that feels so bad right there. Then you just top deck a sword on
Yeah,
top of
yeah,
having like Fiendsmith recursion still.
Yeah, this was just infinite game. So this is the last replay we have. It is a similar deck. I'm pretty sure this is just a Bestial Fiendsmith deck. So game 1, our only play is X'd. So there's no way for us to actually get to the Fiendsmith stuff here. But it's like fine. Because we summon Sword, Search, and he's just going to lose the game here because I Ashes Wallace and then he scoops the Talons.
Yep. It's a combo.
So game 2, his hand is what the fuck is this? His hand is wild. He starts off with Tract. I just Ash Requiem instead. It is kind of a punish if he has Lacrima, but whatever, I guess. Because we were still on the assumption that it was a Ryzeal deck at this point. And then he Magnamuts me. And then we proceed to misplay because there was no point in ogering this literally at all.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it easier for him to rip my hand. And yeah.
Yeah, did you think that it wasn't going to resolve if you ogred it for some reason, maybe?
I thought the reason I did it was because I totally forgot there was a Magma on the field, so I was like getting in my mind I was getting the only target out of my hand, but that was just bad play.
Could have done it to like the Magnum Hut.
Yeah, I mean there were plenty of other. It just shouldn't have been activated probably. Then he Judgments Lacrima. He draws Judgment again. The reason like you don't shotgun Wallace here is because you actually need the draw.
Yeah.
And there's like literally no point because he'll probably just pass his turn, considering he has Judgment and he knows Talent is the other card in my hand.
And you just seen him have Judgment before too, so there's a chance that he has.
And then he draws Called By. So this is basically the end of the game here. He goes like Fiendsmith plays. You don't do it on Moon because once again there's still the issue of him just passing his turn. Chance Requiem, he chains Called By, and then he shows me the Judgment, so I just scoop.
Yeah, at that point you might as well. You can't trade 2 cards for anything he's gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is our hand. Ash, Engraver, Jerusalem, Talents, Regained. It's like decent. It's not the greatest ever, but it's fine. And then his hand is Talents, Ash, Wallace, Engraver, Tract. His hand's pretty good. This time he standby phases the Wallace to play around my Talents. And then we start with Engraver, add Tract. There's no point in like worrying about like Droll or anything like that. I mean, obviously our hand can't play around it, but just saying, because like if they shotgun this, I doubt they have Droll. And then we activated Regained and then activated Tract. You can't Bystial me there, but like DD Crow maybe, and then like later down the line you still want to just have it up just in case he does have a Bystial. And then we do Fiendsmith stuff. He doesn't Ash Requiem.
He's worried
I'm not
about
really
Talents
sure why. Yeah, I guess it would literally just be to play around Talents.
Well,
I don't know if I agree with the play, but because like his hand doesn't even really lose to Talents because he has Engraver, Tract, Talents. So like
could be worried about Chaos Angel coming up somehow, some way too.
Yeah, maybe. Nah, I don't. I just think he probably should have just Ashed and said fuck it. Probably.
There's no world where he shouldn't have, honestly.
And then we just end on the DDD, and then pass. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 disruptions plus follow-up play, so it's pretty good. He draws Called By, which is actually like pretty unfortunate for us. He does Lurry effect. We let it resolve because it just doesn't really do anything because we can just negate the Requiem.
Yeah, plus heavy talents takes so bad.
Yeah, like there we would actually just lose the game.
Mhm.
Then he goes talents. He decides to draw. He draws Magnamut Paradise. The Paradise is pretty unfortunate for him.
Mhm.
Then he goes Engraver.
Hmm.
And then now we do Lacrima effect. And he ashes. And then he goes tracked for some reason, but he's already done it.
Yeah,
So.
he did twice.
Then he just sets Paradise Called Bypass. And then we draw another Jerusalem, which that's actually pretty good for us. And then we go Jerusalem target his Engraver. Yeah, okay. Then we regain draw 1. We draw Ash Blossom. Pretty good draw. And this is like threatening game, so he called buys the Engraver. And we just go battle phase. Attack for 53.
Yeah, you've already facilitated so much advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like, at this point, like, him drawing the Bystial is kind of awkward, but since he called by my Engraver, there's, like, not really a threat anymore. And
Yeah.
his Lurry and Requiem are both engraved. So this tract is actually just dead right now.
Mhm.
So he only has the 2 Bystials, and he just activates tract, and then he scoops. Because, like, I'm not going to Ash Blossom this, because I literally have no reason to.
Mhm.
Because he might play 2 Requiem, but I have Ash for it anyways, so.
Yeah, plus he
And
sees
that's
that
the
you
end of
have
the
the
game.
Caesar and he has 2 Bestials.
Yeah.
You have three unknown in hand. I mean, you won the card advantage war last turn so hard when he called by you, and it didn't do anything.
Like, there's basically no way I lose this game, I don't think. And
Mhm.
unless he had, like, from my perspective, the only way I lose is, like, if he has, like, talents or something dumb like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's it for, like, the replays I wanted to show.
Yeah, awesome, man. Great deck profile, and it was awesome to go over it and peek into the mind of a top 5 player currently. Man, keep up the good work, and keep representing priority phase. You're doing well.
Shoutouts to Paul.
Yeah, especially shout out to Paul, man. He's killing it with the deck building lately.